Holy smokes, friends, I got to work on 2 Broadway shows in the year 2023, which is crazy, crazy, a dream come true. But boy, I have learned so much about Broadway, the theater industry, commercial theater over the last year, and I want to tell you what I've learned. Let's talk about it. Hey friends, if you're new here, my name is Katharine Quinn. I talk about Broadway, lifestyle, financial freedom. I also work on Broadway, off-Broadway, pre-Broadway, regional, you name it. Broadway, for better or for worse, is the love of my life, and a great passion of mine is debunking Broadway myths and helping the issue of opacity on Broadway. There's just a lot of information that is not readily shared, and so as I am voraciously trying to learn as much as I can about the industry with care, I want to share that information when I can with you all, because there's so much that I wish I had known. Knowledge is power, and I think the industry will be better for it when more folks have access to that information. Okay, so the 2 shows that I had the great pleasure of working on this year were Shucked, which opened at the Nederlander Theater in April of 2023, and How to Dance in Ohio, opening, candidly, I'm filming this prior to its opening, December 10th of 2023. Very, very soon. Number 1, the magic of Broadway is really, really magical. Those things that you love in your regional theater, your community theater, your school play, those moments that you can't wait for, the sits probe with a Broadway orchestra. I just got chills thinking about it. It is amazing. You want to know one of the reasons why it's so amazing, other than the fact that you have the most amazing musicians ever? For both of those shows, I worked on 2 original musicals this year, so not revivals. And these were the first time, like sitting in those rooms were the first time anyone had heard the orchestrations of those scores ever. So like Shucked, I got to work on for a full year of its development. So I literally heard from just piano-based drums in a reading to the out-of-town production, and then to its development on Broadway with a bigger pit, and hearing the evolution of it go from like singer-songwriter songs fleshed into musical theater but still on keys, to like a small band, to like fleshed out with like horns and strings, was just, it's amazing. The thing that is really wild is how quickly those orchestrations happen. I mean, our music director, Jason Howland, did our orchestrations for Shucked, and I don't know the hours that man pulls. It's bananas. It's crazy. He can't possibly have any work-life balance. Jason, if you're watching this, I don't know, smoke a doobie. It was like the first impulse that I had. Can I say that on YouTube? It's legal in most states. It's legal here, it's legal in New York, it's fine. Anyway, just like, take a beat, sir. It's wild. He's never not working on like 4 shows at once. On Shucked, he was like music directing the show during the day, writing orchestrations on our breaks, and then suddenly we just like, we're in the recording studio with all of the instrumentalists, and like it was happening. It's just these orchestrations that will then be licensed to people for decades happen in the span of like days, maybe weeks. I mean, I'm not an orchestrator for so many reasons, but like the amount of time that it would take me, like the descant lines, there aren't that many Broadway orchestrators, and like what they do is incredibly specialized. I feel the same way about Bruce Coughlin's orchestrations on How to Dance in Ohio. He did the Light in the Piazza orchestrations, y'all. Oh, I just sobbed through the How to Dance in Ohio sits probe. Oh my God, I might be able to throw up a clip here. Not of me crying. You don't want that. In Ohio. Oh my God, it's magic. The first day you walk into the Broadway theater that you're working in, magic. It's magic. These are technically my 2nd and 3rd Broadway processes. I did a choreography fellowship on Tootsie in 2019, so this is like the 3rd full Broadway process that I've been a part of, Ohio. These things never get old, and I will say that I've gone from like, no shade to the Marquee, but it's not necessarily the prettiest Broadway theater. So I went from the Marquee to the Nederlander, and I was like, oh my God, historic theater. It's so beautiful, and I love the Nederlander. It's like 1,100 seats. It's a good size. It's just like, it's great. And now we're in the Belasco. Y'all, I hate getting to the Belasco. Crossing through Times Square literally like takes a year off of my life every single time I have to do it. Like, I hate it. The human that I am assisting, Rebecca, says whenever she's like surrounded by all of the plebes, the wonderful tourists, she says, thank you for visiting our fair city.
Thank you for being here today.
Every time she's frustrated, which is something that I need to implement into my brain, because I am just angry-faced shoving through all of the lovely tourists who are helping the economy of our fair city. But I just need to thank you for visiting our fair city, because it really, it's rough. However, once you make it to the Belasco, it's gorgeous. Now, as of the time of this video, I have not visited the famed Belasco apartment. There is an apartment in the Belasco. I'm gonna throw up photos here. I want to go. I haven't been. I have very limited remaining opportunities. I'm gonna be pissed if I don't get to see it. I have to make that happen. I literally need to put it in my calendar to like badger our house manager. Thank you, Anne. Meet and greet is the first day of school every single time. I'm gonna say this is number 2, even though I have this listed as an ABC underneath my first one, which is the magic of Broadway is really magical. You have a real sense of how many people are working on that Broadway show on that first day at meet and greet. You know, when you're at a like regional theater, community theater production, school production, you're like, dang, it's not just the cast. Dang, there's the crew. Dang, there's blah, 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 blah. I don't know why I'm saying dang so much. I like don't use this in my vernacular at all in real life. Anyway, on Broadway, you have that, but then you also have press and advertising and a million co-producers, a ton of people who raised money on this show. You gather in a circle, which in the new 42 studios, those studios are massive, and you have to make this giant ass oval to make room for everyone. And everyone goes around and says who they are, and it's just like, holy crap. And you know, like when you see your Broadway playbill, okay, so Spamalot is gonna be your chosen guinea pig because it was the playbill readily available. This isn't even the staff page. This is just like the people working at the theater. Look at all these tiny ass names. Okay, then y'all are looking at those like actor pages. Okay, so we start over here. General management. Look at these tiny ass names. We've got our associates, our assistants, banking, advertising. Wow, 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 wow. So many people, so many people. And that doesn't even include co-producers, friends. We got your lead producers. These top 2 names here, see? Then we got the co-producers, all those people. Sometimes those are like LLCs. So they actually include multiple humans. So like this is the John Gore organization. I don't know how many people are showing up at meet and greet from the John Gore organization, but probably not just one. Meet and greets are huge. Okay, so we're gonna say this is 3. The magic of Broadway is indeed magical, but also Broadway really is just an address. On Broadway, you still just got your rehearsals. You've got your tech, you've got some personalities. You have a lot of the similar dynamics. There might be people in the company that aren't your favorite, other people that you really gravitate toward. It is the same shiitake that you deal with at your community theater, your school theater, your regional theater. Just people are typically paid a little better, depending on what your role is. It's just a skit. There are a couple of those moments, like walking into the theater, Sid's Pro, meet and greet, that are like, oh, Broadway. And the rest of the time, we're all just joking like, Broadway, oh, we're on Broadway. We're all just, we all just work at regional theater, and this is the Broadway show that we're, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing, it's just another show. But then it's not, but it is. Number 4, Broadway as a community theater scene. This is something that I've been learning over the course of this year. When I was in Dallas, I grew up in Dallas theater from like 2009 to 2011. But I did like 10 shows a year those 3 years. I did so, like to the point where I had write-ups about how many shows I was doing in a year, which is hilarious because I was just a chorus girl. Anyway, I worked at all the theaters in Dallas. And you know, you gotta play the game a little bit, and I was so hungry and excited to be a part of the community, so I was going to all the parties, and there was something on Monday nights called Mama's Party where everyone goes and sings, and it's so fun, and the host is amazing and she's fantastic. Everyone at the time, it was at Alexander's Piano Bar, now defunct. You could still smoke inside. That was disgusting, and it was just, and we would all, Mark Molyneux would play the piano, and we would all sway back and forth and sing The Piano Man, and you would hear Cedric Neal, who's currently playing Nicely Nicely Johnson, over in the West End. You would hear him just like belting the most insane music of your life. It was a time. It was a moment. We have those here. That's like Joe's Pub. Instead of hanging out at, I don't know, Woody's in Dallas, we're now hanging out at Sardi's. It's like, it's just community theater. It just happens that it's on Broadway, and you go into Sardi's, and like, I was hanging out with a producer earlier this week at Sardi's. He happened to be facing the receiving end of people coming in. He knew every single human who walked in the place, and he literally was like, you want some advice? Hang out at Sardi's. It's a nightmare for an autistic person like me. But anyway, the point of this is, it's community theater on Broadway. Number 5, grosses are absolutely terrifying. Broadway grosses are scary. If you don't know, you can go to broadwayworld.com/grosses. You can see how much money Broadway shows are making every single week. You may or may not know what the weekly operating expenses are, i.e. how much the show needs to make in order to like pay for itself. There's also like a spooky, scary place. There's like a threshold of how much a show needs to be making in order to avoid being kicked out by the landlord, the theater owner, and that determines how long people have jobs. Now, so far, my Broadway experiences I've had up until opening. I have not had longevity on a show, like beyond Broadway opening. I did a few things for Shucked that were like paid as one-offs, but not like weeklies. Praying in 2024 or soon that is part of my life, but it's not. So I just, for the sake of my friends, am hoping that a Broadway show continues to run. Number 6, this is so important. I cannot emphasize this enough. People make up wild shit on the internet about your show, and it is completely false. Completely false. I cannot tell you the wild people would tell me to my face, would tell to the internet, I'm looking at you. The shit that people put is out there is crazy. The thing that really blew my mind were people who are online pundits who would, to my face, tell me information about the shows that I was working on, and I could literally have had a conversation with the lead producer of the show, who would be like, yeah, I have this information about the Tonys, I have this information about this. I would literally exit the theater, see a friend who's an online pundit, and they would tell me bald-faced lies about information they had about the show I was working. Wild. People make shit up. Now, does that mean that the pundits are gonna get it right sometimes? Are not going to get it right sometimes? They are. They're gonna get it right sometimes. But I just want you to know, people just fabricate from absolute freaking thin air. As of the time of recording this video, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I am working on The Great Gatsby, the one from Paper Mill Playhouse. Depending on who you ask from our cast, crew, creative team, general management, marketing director, all of whom I have direct contact with, people have completely different stories about what we want, our trajectory, who we're in line behind, etc., etc. And that's amongst people who actually know, let alone what people on the internet think that they know. It's a crazy world. Anyway, I just want to tell you, as someone who has now experienced a bit from the inside, grain of salt. Cool. 7. Okay, this is gonna be really crass and really mean. I love working on Broadway. I'm very grateful. I'm gonna roll through a couple of my least favorite things, and this is just true about the industry in general. It's not specific to Broadway, but people at the top on Broadway can still be, I can't think of the nice way. I'm gonna bleep myself out. They can still be starfucked. Some of them aren't. I don't really know how democratic to be about this right now. I mean, I know that I should be. Some folks that I have worked with this year, when stars enter the room, they're like, heads down, like, nice to meet you, I have work to do. Mad respect. Other people I have worked with are literally like, assistant, get out of my way. Can I get a selfie? Like, that's because none of us got enough love in our childhoods. Similarly, people at the top can still be very starstruck. That's not a good or bad thing, it just is. Number 9, people at the top can be very generous and see you as a human. If you want to know the value of a human being, look at how they treat the PAs, okay? Especially the ones that they don't want to sleep with. And other people will treat you kindly until a star is around and then shove you out of the way. 10, Broadway is not a meritocracy. It is an industry. Sorry, this is we've entered the cynical section. I was like starry-eyed in the beginning. We should have a little cynical section. Broadway is not a meritocracy. It is an industry built on connections, nepotism, and some people who want to sleep with each other, in addition to incredibly talented people who absolutely deserve to be there. And sometimes multiple of those things can be true. 11, there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen. This can be a good thing, can also be a bad thing. If you want me to elaborate, leave a comment. 12, Broadway is an institution, which means it's steady. It's stalwart, and it is damn hard to get it to evolve. 13, most people on Broadway are incredibly well-intentioned, even and perhaps especially the ones who treat you like dirt. They are just perpetuating the way they've been treated, which doesn't make it okay. Again, because none of us got enough love in our childhoods. We will insert a clip from Chicago here.
And that's showbiz. Kid.
14, people are not always paid well on Broadway. This was shocking to me. I'm gonna rattle off some numbers. Equity minimum on Broadway is about $2,500 a week. Fierce, we love it. You get extra if you're a chorus roller specialty, swings, partial swing, principal understudy, chorus role understudy, dance captain, assistant dance captain, fight captain, etc., etc. A musical theater stage manager gets $4,007 a week. Play stage manager, $3,444 a week. Musical first ASM, $3,165 a week. Play, $2,816. This is via a Playbill article using the most recent union guidelines. Musicians, $2,143 a week. There can be bonus if you have to wear a costume, first chair trumpet, etc. Conductor, $3,750 a week. Associate conductor, $2,786 a week. The regulations basically end there. Associates don't have regulated pay. They're supposed to have regulated pay. It doesn't always happen. It didn't happen on one of the productions that I worked on this year. It ain't just, it ain't right, it ain't fair. PAs run Broadway. PAs are sometimes your script assistants, but essentially your stage management team who is running the show and your assistants. These humans make $700 a week pre-tax, which in New York City is actually ludicrous and criminal. It is not okay, particularly if they're working on a show where a single seat in your house is selling for $800 or $900 a week. I am retiring from all assistant life after the current contract that I am on. We are associates and up or bust. I have done my time. Thank you so much for your service. It has been a blast. I was associate on Shucked. I am an assistant on Ohio. Happy to be here, ready to work, grateful for the experiences, and It's just the pay of it all. I am being paid more than a PA, and still, it's wild and not livable. But also, as I have discussed, Broadway shows are not recouping their investments, so what are you to do? We gotta fix the industry. How do we fix it? Number 15, there's a sense of competition on Broadway, and even if you're aware of the state of your show and its flaws or its wonderful things, and you hear people saying horrible shit, it smarts. The internet is tiny, algorithms know who to feed things to. Please exercise caution and care. 16, people have a parasocial relationship with Broadway people, and I'm in a position of putting my opinions on the internet, so doubly so. It is never ever appropriate to offer unsolicited notes pretty much in general to anyone ever, but particularly via an Instagram DM or email. Don't do it. Don't do it to anyone in any creative position. Take that human out to coffee, establish a relationship with that person if you respect them. Build that relationship, assist that human. Then you get your nickels. Nickels are how much you can spend. It's a metaphor that we use to talk about any given day I get a few nickels to like insert my opinion. Now this depends on the room, and this is a longer conversation. Like the current room I'm in, I feel like I can offer multiple nickels. Lots of nickels. Previous projects, not as many nickels. People get testy. Don't give people notes on DMs. Don't do it. Or an email. Thank you. If you want the job, pursue the job. 17, Broadway is a marathon, more so than any other process I've been a part of. Press and rehearsals and tech and uncertainty and pressure and opening. And then actors are still press and powering through like 2 months of promo after opening. It is wild. The first 10 weeks of getting a show up and running are so exhausting. When you see a show in previews, please know those actors are rehearsing during the day, getting changes that morning, and having to put those changes in that night. Their brains are absolutely fried, swings are going on, people are getting sick. Be kind to your friends in previews. This wonderful custom that we have of being kind to previews on particularly Theater Talk that I have acknowledged is correct. That's right, once a show is open, and you can do whatever you want to just have that information. 18, getting reviews on your opening night are cruel. I don't think this is a practice that should continue. Some shows have had a red carpet gala and then as like their opening night, and then there's like press night. I think it needs to be two different things because there is nothing more dispiriting than opening your show and as you are exiting the theater on the way to the opening night party, receiving a shitty review from Jesse Green. Not that I speak from experience. This is number 19. The online community turns on you quick, both for better or worse. It's interesting, I'm currently experiencing this as I'm tracking like the boop trajectory just out of my own curiosity. There really isn't such a thing as bad publicity. I genuinely don't believe that, even from like TikTok pundits who make it their absolute job to just like put as much cancerous shit in the industry as humanly possible. You know who I'm talking about. But it's wild watching the discourse flip so rapidly. Like on Boop, people were like, ugh, who wants a Boop musical? And then like the clips of Jasmine Amy Rogers, who seems like a star, came out, and Where I Want to Be came out, and everyone was like, this musical is what we've been waiting for. And then some more clips came out, and first previews happened, and people were like, this is the second coming of musical theater. And then another clip came out, and previews continued, and the boards are now like, ugh, this is basic. This is mediocre. I wish the Barbie movie hadn't set a precedent. Oh, it's nice that we don't have to deal with feminism in this musical, but it's still like, it is wild. And obviously not indicative of whether or not a show is gonna be a commercial hit. Like Broadway World Message Boards were never indicative of whether or not a show is gonna be a commercial hit. I was not paying attention to the Broadway World Message Boards when Moulin Rouge hit the stage. Dazzling spectacle. I have my own opinions about, you know, like the book and like the artistic integrity of like, you know, amazing choreography, really, really cool to watch, like love. I don't know if the boards were all like super nice about that show necessarily, and here we are years later, and I have a video on, does a critical flop mean commercial failure? I'm gonna link her up here. Some of the theaters are so gorgeous it's stupid and amazing to work there, but also did you know that there are no windows in the theater? I am having a hard time with that. It's really hard to go from New 42 Studios, which is so nice, and floor-to-ceiling windows, and then you enter your theater and you're in tech and previews and you do not see the light of day for 12 hours. It's just dark. It's just always dark. It's always dark. It's a gift, but it's always dark. There is not nearly enough diversity amongst anyone outside of the acting company, if you even have it there. Producers, creative teams, backstage, but especially like people in power, nope. Age diversity, gender diversity, racial diversity, obviously. Gotta change that. Gotta work on that. Audiences are everything. The lifeblood. Building community is amazing. Shucked and Ohio have both done this incredibly well. And watching like the grassroots movement of a show, like as it sort of barrels towards a Broadway opening, and it's like mega fans, is so incredibly fun. Especially like Shucked, they'd worked on it for 10 years. Can you imagine like working on a piece of theater? It's like doing like it's like 2.5 BFAs. Like you go to college 2.5 times, and at the end you get to present your thesis, and suddenly you have these mega fans of this thing that you've poured your life and soul into over the last decade of your life. It's really fun. I was only a part of it for a year, but still I found it very fun. People are hungry for representation. A little bit on Shucked, big time on Ohio. On Shucked, you could feel the hunger for people to laugh. On Ohio, you feel the hunger for representation. Our audiences at Ohio are amazing. The show begins by saying, there's this saying, if you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person, you are now meeting 7 autistic people. It brings the house down every single night. It's also incredible, like the way that people respond, like more accessible clapping, or people offering like a silent snap is something that I've seen. I am an autistic person myself. I am autistic, and I just find it absolutely incredible. It is sorely missing from theater zeitgeist. We are severely underrepresented, not just autistic people, any sort of broader representation of humanity. I loved Spam-A-Lot. I hated that our chorus girls only had 2% body fat. I love seeing like Mimi Scardula and gorgeous, like Katie Garrity, gorgeous humans on stage dancing the shit out of it. Like, I just want a much broader representation of humanity on stage, always. The last is, we're just super fucking lucky. We're lucky. This business makes basically no sense. We sing and dance for a living. We're playing dress up for a living. We are doing multi-million-dollar productions of skits. It is an ancient art form that has somehow stood the entire test of time, and commercial Broadway makes no financial sense. People travel across the country, across the world to see Broadway, and I get to be a tiny speck of dust in this process. And I'm so grateful, and I hope it continues to happen. I think it might, and I'm really excited about that. All right, those are my learning lessons. Not a comprehensive guide, but the first ones that really resonated with me. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean so much to me if you hit that like, subscribe button, or you left a comment down below. Engaging with my video helps the YouTube algorithm know who to share this with, who might be an appropriate audience. So it really means a lot to me as a new YouTuber. As always, I invite you to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at It's Katharine Quinn. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.